Throughout time, dragons have always captured our imaginations. Their mysterious manner and often menacing nature have been a fascination for centuries. They appear in the legends and stories of different cultures all over the world, each with their own interpretations and meanings. Let's take a journey through time and explore their origins, symbolic significance, and how they continue to leave a lasting impact on us. So come along as we uncover the magic and mystery surrounding these strange and fascinating creatures that continue to inspire us to this day. The word dragon first made its way into the English language in the early 13th century, borrowed from the Old French term dragon, which traces back to the Latin word draco. This means huge serpent and came from the ancient Greek word drakon. Though it doesn't have to be myth-related and could just be used to mean large serpent. Many think drakon comes from the verb derkomai, which means I see, because snakes have sharp and wide-open eyes. This Greek word could have originated from the Indo-European root dirk, which also means to see, similar to the Sanskrit word drish, meaning to see. People have been fascinated by dragons so much so that they are deeply entwined in the mythology and folklore of many different cultures around the world. From China to Europe to Mesoamerica, each culture has their own interpretations of what dragons mean to them. For people in ancient China, dragons were symbols of wisdom, good fortune, and natural elements such as water and rain, and were respected and admired. European dragons, on the other hand, were often feared and seen as being chaotic and menacing. In Norse mythology, they were seen as being destructive and would fight with both gods and heroes alike. But the many different variations of dragon myths does not end there. Across different regions and cultures, like the Middle East and Mesoamerica, dragons had many different forms and a wide range of beliefs surrounding them. Sometimes they were creators or destroyers of the world, while other times they were incorporated into deities important in creation myths. When following dragons' footsteps, so to speak, throughout time and across many different cultures, we can see that tales and myths not only show the hopes and fears of people, but also their endless inventiveness when telling complex and diverse stories. In some Eastern cultures, dragons are long snake-like creatures with 4 legs able to fly. They often symbolize good fortune and are associated with the weather. Meanwhile, in Europe, they are typically depicted as being very large, fire-breathing, reptile-like, and have wings. They would guard treasure and often be seen as enemies. In Norse mythology, dragons are destructive forces, symbolizing chaos and the constant struggle between order and disorder. Nidhogg would be an example of that. But in Mesoamerican civilizations, like the Aztecs and Mayans, dragons are more harmonious. They are feathered serpents associated with creation and natural elements. Dragons have always been a favorite and constantly changing in literature and media, from being obstacles to be overpowered by heroes in early stories, to being complex and empathetic in more recent works. Back then, in olden times, dragons were often fearsome adversaries like in Beowulf or in the legend of St. George. But today, they are often shown as being a little more three-dimensional like Smaug in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. In children's stories, dragons are often misunderstood and friendly, like the dragon in The Paper Bag Princess, who is clever and less vicious than in traditional folklore. Many films and television shows also include dragons. For example, they are powerful and looming in Game of Thrones, but shown as heartwarming and share a bond between humans and dragons in How to Train Your Dragon. As mentioned earlier, in Asia, they are often symbols of power, wisdom, and prosperity, while in Europe, they represent chaos and foes for heroes to deal with. Some interpret dragons as reflections of our inner fears and desires, while others see them as symbols of transformation and change. Today, they are complex creatures embodying both destruction and creation, highlighting the duality inside ourselves and our interactions with the world. Dragons can give us a glimpse into the human condition, constantly evolving in meaning as culture shifts and changes. The exact origins of these legends probably will never be fully understood, but there are several theories that suggest real-life creatures and natural events could have been the inspiration behind them. A popular theory is that the discovery of dinosaur bones may well have played a part in creating dragon myths. Imagine coming across huge bones in places where dinosaur fossils are usually found. The massive size and strange shapes of the fossils would have been both scary and interesting. But it wasn't just dinosaur bones that contributed to the dragon myth. Big reptiles like crocodiles, Komodo dragons, and monitor lizards could have easily been incorporated into fantastical dragon tales through oral traditions due to their massive size. In some places, finding a giant snakeskin could have started stories of winged serpents. Natural events could have been a contributing factor too. For example, lightning and eruptions from volcanoes could easily have been mistaken for a dragon's fiery breath, especially in places volcanic activity is frequent. Strange cloud formations or odd weather patterns could have also been interpreted as dragons in the sky. We've traveled through time to discover what dragons mean to different cultures. From fierce beasts in European folklore to revered serpent-like creatures in Asian mythology, they have and continue to capture our minds. The lasting impact of dragons showcases our love for storytelling and constant search for understanding.